Travel and Things, in association with Rugged Wear, Real People, Real Clothing, and Real Solutions, present In Conversation With. I'm your host, David Batsoffen, and my guest today and author of yet another new book is Sophia Lindop. Sophia, welcome to you. How are you?
Oh, David, I'm good, thank you. I think I've been bored during lockdown, so I just kept going.
I'm hoping you're not at your wit's end.
I'm not actually. Don't you just love that title?
I think the title is fascinating. And I want to ask you how you came up with it.
I actually didn't. So I have an editor that I've been working with on all my books, and he's become like a friend over the years because I've been working with him since 2014.
Right.
And he has the most wonderful sense of humor. So when I sent him the manuscript, I had other titles and whatever, and he sent it back with this, and I just loved it. So it stuck.
Okay, so I think your next book should be called 50 Shades of Beetroot.
Good idea. I'll make a note. That could get dirty. I mean, naughty. I mean,
it could get
yummy.
It could get all those things. I mean, watching MasterChef Australia, beetroot has become the vegetable of the day, and they do an enormous amount with that thing.
You can.
Good, bad, or indifferent. But once again, Sophia, the photographs. If people don't buy this book as a cookbook, just buy it as a coffee table photographic essay on how to shoot food photographs, rather than what we see on Facebook, those rubbish, out of focus pictures of a plate of food that nobody really cares about. I mean, if you look at this particular image, they're crumbs. Everybody else would have made that nice and clean and like the foreground.
No,
not this fella.
Not in my kitchen. No.
Does your kitchen rule? That's what I want to know.
I rule in my kitchen.
And so tell us about the birth of this particular book, because I was thinking to myself, you produce almost as many books as Mills and Boon, but yours are much better, much more fun to read.
Thank you.
And it isn't just the same sort of manuscript with different names and body parts, like a cut and paste version of every book you've ever read, type, recipe book. Yours are just so glorious to read. And they want to make you want to, even me. I ran around on Sunday looking for coconut sugar for those. Because I'd never heard
I told you to WhatsApp, but you don't listen. I could send you straight to it.
But this is the beauty of it, is everybody learning something new. But why wheat-free? Why gluten-free?
So, some years ago, I actually discovered that I was gluten intolerant.
Okay.
Every time, and as you know, I'm Lebanese, so you eat something with your bread for every meal. So it was a hard pill to swallow for me.
Yeah.
But I started to realize I can't do pasta, I can't do bread. And what happened was I would feel infinitely uncomfortable for about 2 weeks to get it out of my system. I would bloat, I'd feel nauseous. It really wasn't a nice feeling. So I gave it up. And at that time, I pitched a gluten-free book to whatever publisher I was with at the time. And they didn't feel it was important. And then just before lockdown, a very dear friend of mine's daughter was diagnosed with Hashimoto's, and she had to cut out every bit of gluten. And I started to think about this book again. So I've actually dedicated it to her. Her name is Amy. And I started to think about it. And this time I didn't need a publisher, because I thought, well, why don't I try the ebook route? It's still something that people find hard to get used to. People will ask me, are you going to put it in a big book so I can buy it? I said, well, you can buy it now if you want, and you can print it out if you'd like. So that's what made me do it. And the thing is, when you're gluten intolerant or you have a gluten-free diet, you often feel like you're being, you're missing out, basically.
Yeah.
People eat cake and you can't. People eat pasta and you can't. People, and you're always feeling bereft in some form or another.
Marginalized.
So I thought, no, bugger that. Let's figure this out. So one of my favorite recipes in there is that gluten-free gnocchi.
Mm-hmm.
It is decadent and luxurious and yummy. So I started to come up with ideas of let's also be able to eat cake. Let's also be able to, eat pasta or whatever in different forms. So it was a really lovely journey. And the photographer is a lady from Johannesburg that I found her on Instagram. I loved her work. So during lockdown, she drove down and we all huddled in the house and didn't go anywhere. And for 2 weeks, just cooked and shot and cooked and shot. And it was a wonderful experience. It was actually also a lovely experience to do an ebook and to have this learning curve. It was amazing.
Sophia, I think the thing about, firstly, I've discovered that I'm gluten intolerant. That's for a whole different.
A lot of people talk about that because it becomes an issue.
Exactly.
So in the restaurant you say, is there flour on the chicken breast? And it irritates people. So I get it.
Between that and CrossFit, don't put me at a table with a vegan intolerant CrossFit person, because
I'll remember that.
Because they're going to tell you within the first 13 seconds of I tend to do this. Now I've drifted off topic.
You said you're gluten intolerant.
Yeah, no, I don't know where I was going now. So names we've done. Oh, ebooks. I think the whole thing about the ebook. Firstly, thank you so much for the apron. When that arrived, I thought that was the book, and it was beautiful packaged, but I thought, hang on a second, this is very soft, and it's not like a soft cover book. This is soft like a pillowcase. And then I opened it stupidly in front of my wife, who went, "That is beautiful. I will have it, thank you." And that's the last I saw of it. And she
That's good. Well, that means she's in the kitchen. So you owe me, actually.
I'm doing. But I think with this particular book, and hopefully ones going forward, is that you've kept it relatively short. So in other words, if somebody does want to print it out, it's not 200 pages long.
No.
54 odd pages or something, maybe a bit more. So you can take it down to a printer, and it's not going to cost you an arm and a leg, and it's certainly not going to cost you as much as a hardcover book.
Yes. And hopefully you don't hand it to all your friends.
True enough.
That's the other thing with ebooks. You don't know what happens after someone's downloaded it. So you're trusting.
Well,
but you can, and ebooks in general have no more than 20 recipes.
Yeah.
And so mine between 15 and 20.
Yeah.
Mine have 18 in each.
Okay.
And as you know, I'm very visual, so I love to have a photograph with every recipe.
Yeah,
I think it's very important.
I want to go back to those photographs. So we've seen that one.
Yes.
You see, this is the beauty of all the food photographers that you found, is they've taken and as a photographer, this is what attracts me to your books. You could have photographed that entire thing, but no, there's a piece missing. My initial thought is, who ate it? Because the beauty,
we did.
I know the beauty of food photography. Trust me, because I've done a reasonable amount. Is you get to eat props. It's like working on a food TV series. The camera crew can't wait to eat.
I know, and we pick up weight during those 2 weeks. It's the worst.
So talk me through this image, because I didn't want to, for exactly the reason that you've just now said about people copying. That's why I've been very specific and not published pictures of the photograph with the recipe. I don't want people to pause and then write it down. I want them to buy you.
Thank you. You're a real friend, David. Thank you.
So this looks like a carroty cake of some sort.
That is called pashka.
Okay.
And it is a Slavic dessert that they make around Easter. But it has become a Slavic dessert that we have all the time in Cape Town.
Okay.
So it's made from ricotta and cream and brandy-soaked dried fruits and orange peel and nuts. And then you put it in a muslin cloth in a form and let it stand overnight. And it has become my answer to a cheese board, for example.
Okay.
So I've always got one in the fridge that Paddy nibbles on. In his previous life, he was a mouse, I'm sure of it, because cheese and my husband. So, but it's just a lovely thing to serve as a dessert / cheese platter. So it's not too sweet, and yet it is a bit sweet, and it's got a lovely mouth feel, and it's interesting, and it always wows people. Okay. So it's something I love to do.
Just talking about cheese platters, are cheese platters a specifically South African thing, or is it international? Because I've never seen it. I mean, I've seen it at a breakfast, but I've never been offered it at dinner in place of a dessert type of thing. Anywhere other than
I think cheese platters are actually very French.
Oh, okay.
So in South Africa, we often serve cheese before a meal, which the French will probably have as a nation a heart attack and all die at the same time.
Okay.
But in France, cheeses are served before dessert. And that's kind of how we like to have our cheese. So we always have cheese before dessert.
Okay.
And cheese is a big thing in our house, and you know, ripening them properly and serving them properly, that's a big thing.
Okay.
Isn't that just a showstopper? I love it.
I know. I flipped through the book and I could choose every photograph, but let me just choose some that speak to me. And this is one. And it's an interesting combination. I mean, beetroot roulade with horseradish and orange zest.
It's I love combinations, and it's the most rewarding thing when you get weird combinations in food and they work. And that was one of them. So I love the color of the beetroot. And it's also something that you can make a day in advance and refrigerate. And I did it. We had, for the first time since lockdown, it was like a big thing. We had 3 friends over for dinner the other day. And they are huge foodies. And I did this, and it really impressed them. So it's just there's goat's cheese in the inside with spinach, the fennel seeds. It's just a beautiful combination of flavors and a real showstopper, I think.
Sophia, how do you come up with these combinations? And using that as the base, have you ever put something together that you thought, wow, this is really going to work, and it doesn't, and it's so horrible that even if you put it down for your dog or cat, they would rather starve than eat it?
Even the Labrador won't eat it.
If the Labrador won't eat, it's like a German Shepherd. If they don't eat it, then you toss it immediately. You don't even
David, it's kind of an instinctive thing. I think I've told you this story before, but my very first solo meal was when I was 7 years old. And I toasted my mom's home-baked bread, and I put butter on that melted into the toast. And then I put Marmite on that. And then I fried an egg for each family member in olive oil, because I'm Lebanese. That's how we do it. And then I put the egg on top of the Marmite bread, and then I drizzled it with honey. And so I think these weird combinations have been part of my existence since a very young age. And it was actually delicious. So I do sometimes still do that, I have to be honest.
While you were talking about the ingredients, I thought there's only one thing missing. And that's some bacon sprinkles, just to add, because everything goes better with bacon as far as I'm concerned.
I was just going to say, everything works better with bacon, so I'm with you. And bacon and honey work brilliantly together, so I'm going back to the drawing board.
Well, I mean, it's like a Canadian breakfast, which is maple syrup, bacon in
Yeah.
the pancake. So, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Does Patty sort of have to stand by in the kitchen and get fed spoonfuls of stuff without you telling him what they are, and judging by his facial expression, they're either get a tick or a cross?
We have a deal. It started very early on in our relationship because I love to play with food. We have a deal that he will always be honest, and he is.
Okay.
I've never had him projectile spit things across the kitchen, fortunately, but he's always brutally honest. He's a total food slut. I've told you this before. He loves his food, and the thing that's most annoying about my husband is that he can lose 5 kilograms in 3 days. That's the most annoying part about him. But he can really, someone gave him a nickname recently. He's going to kill me. But someone called him Hollow Legs Lindop because Hollow Legs can pack it away. He loves his food, and he is really a good critic. He's very honest always. Whenever I give him something to taste, he'll be very brutally honest.
Sophia, because at the end of the day, if he goes, this is glorious, you put it out there, and then you go to hellopeter.com and people are going, don't buy this book. It's terrible.
Exactly.
All right, so this is the recipe that I started to put together the ingredients on Sunday. Today,
yes.
as we speak, it's Wednesday. And so the dates, we don't normally keep dates in the house because I tend to eat them by the handful, and they're very high in sugar. The coconut sugar I'd never heard of, so I had to go out and buy, which I did. Came back and found out that the peanut butter that you're using has no salt and no sugar, and we, of course, don't have that in the house. So I've got to wait.
You should have that and chuck the other one.
I know.
You should.
I know. And it might well happen. But now you two words together when we were talking before I hit record. And that was...
We must be careful what we repeat here from before you hit record.
That was addictive and share. And I said to you that you should never put those two words in a sentence together. Especially when you come to those biscuits that are easy to bake, quick, I should imagine, and they vanish too fast. So you've got to make vast quantities of them to last from
But you can feel good about yourself because they, also with the book, what I tried to do is to eliminate refined sugar.
Okay.
So you won't find, I don't think there's any refined sugar in the book. Because we're trying to eat healthier in our home. So that coconut sugar you are going to fall in love with. It has the most amazing, like molasses smell. It is just too beautiful. And these cookies have protein. I keep telling myself that. And the dates are, so I mean, I just don't bake them that often, but they're really good and they're so quick to make.
You see, if they took long to make, then you wouldn't have them sort of on a daily basis. But let's move it along. I'm going to try, I must say that just looking at that again, I'm going to try and replicate that image when I make the cookies.
Do it and send it to me.
And then we'll put them side by side and see what happens.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Now, this one is also just such a special image. Who knew that cauliflower and a paintbrush would work this beautifully? Really.
Thank you. Cauliflower must be one of my favorite vegetables since a very young age. I love cauliflower in all its forms. And I had, up until this point, all these buzzwords in the food industry, and miso was this big buzzword, and I'd never used miso. And I started to play with it in this recipe, and it's the most divine flavor. It's like a umami, caramelly, wonderful flavor to have with the cauliflower. So Love this recipe. Love it.
I was watching an episode of MasterChef, which is my sort of go-to cookery program, and they were cooking
Yes.
purple. Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
that was cabbage they were using, not cauliflower.
Mm.
But it was beautiful.
But you also get colored cauliflowers at the moment. You get different colors and
okay.
yeah.
So now this book is down and dusted. And let's just go back to the title. So where to for you now?
Oh, David, it's been such an interesting time. You know, when lockdown came, I had to basically stop cookery classes. I didn't want to endanger anyone in our home and also people coming into our home. So we put that on hold, and every now and again I'd sneak in one, and then it became you know, tricky, and then I'd cancel again. And I'm one of those people that loves to be busy. I love to challenge myself. I love to learn new things. So I started working with a coach. I decided I wanted to start a range of products and have an online shop. And it was amazing because my coach said things like, if you don't know how your website works on the back end, and you just trusting someone else to do it, you're relinquishing control. So you need to learn. So I went on this journey of learning about WooCommerce websites and how they work on the back end and how to fix things. And it was fascinating. And at times my brain felt like it was pulsating and going to explode. But it's been amazing. And I discovered this part of me that's very well. I knew I am creative because that's how you become a good cook. But I've enjoyed designing products and coming up with these weird designs, and then finding people to make what I see. And so I've got this online shop that's starting to you know, I've got more and more products dropping in soon, and just loving it, absolutely loving it. So a ceramics range and a linen range and you know, all kinds of things happening. So wooden range, there's all kinds of things happening, and I'm loving that. So I still am longing for the interaction with teaching people about Lebanese food. And especially in this time where Lebanon is just in such turmoil and at such a crossroads and just such a bad time, I feel even more passionate to shine a light. So I miss that. We'll do a couple again starting the end of September, and then do a couple because I hear in December there's another COVID wave coming. So I'll sneak in a couple of courses before that happens. And then, yeah, who knows? I think I've enjoyed the journey of the ebooks because it's been much more hands-on for me.
Yeah.
And it's been easier to do. I've discovered this wonderful designer in Johannesburg. So we've worked long distance, but we worked so closely together. And this time it was just my ideas. I didn't have to bow to a publisher or whatever. I just said, I like that. Or do this, and yes, let's go. And it's been a wonderful journey for me. So I think there'll be more of those, and we'll see.
Well, to go back to new and improved Sophia's range, that apron, just to get back to that, is so nice that my wife, when she puts it on, she puts a plastic apron in front of it, because she doesn't want to splash oil onto it. I swear.
Yeah, it is washable.
But given half the chance, I think she would wear that out.
I should engrave Dr. Caro Patsoffen, yeah.
Tell the viewers where they can find the book. More importantly, where they can find the shop, because you want people to go and visit. You want people to buy stuff. So what are those contact details?
So on my website, the shop's on my website, which is www.sophialindop.com.
Mm-hmm.
And then I love people following me on Instagram. I love Instagram, always updating what's new, what's happening. And also there's a newsletter that they can sign up to on my website where I send out regular news about what's going on and special offers and things like that. So I love to stay in touch. It's been weird staying in touch like we are now, but it's kind of become, I think, in a weird way, kind of normal. So I love staying in touch with everybody.
I was watching a TV program last night and I can't remember what it was. Oh, The Good Fight. I'd never watched it before. My wife wanted to watch it. I said, all right, I'll watch it. Now I'm hooked. So I've got to go back 5 seasons. But this was the current season, which is season 5, is shot at the beginning of lockdown. And they were.
But how do you start at season 5, David?
We had no choice because there was nothing else to watch. We watched everything else. And they telling their staff, you know, you've all got to go home and download a program called Zoom. And they spell it out, ZWM.com.
Yeah.
And you think, yep, 18 months down the line, if there is anybody on this planet that doesn't have Zoom downloaded, I think Skype did not see this coming. It's like Pepsi and Coca-Cola. No. Skype lost out big time to Zoom. But anyway.
And don't you find that lockdown has made us, what definitely has changed my personality a bit? I find that I'm much more introverted.
Oh, yes.
I'm much happier just to be at home and work quietly.
Yep.
When we are around people, I get tired quickly. It's the weirdest thing.
No, I hear exactly what you're saying, because somebody said to me, can you just go across to Morningside? We're in Linden in Joburg. It's not a long drive. I said, no, that's a whole outing. I won't go anything past sort of First Avenue and Fifth Avenue and Fifth Street and the Pick and Pay down the road. That's it.
Exactly, that's it.
My territory now, and I patrol it regularly. And anybody who gets stopped, I'm sorry. Leave me a bubble to remain a bubble.
Yeah.
Sophia, as always, it's been such a pleasure talking with you. I mean, this will go on forever, but I want people to watch it in its entirety, not go, oh, ho, hum, they're off on a tangent again, and just chatting amongst themselves, which is what we tend to do. This is not for other people. We're talking.
No, it's for us.
No, it's for us.
But if they want to watch, it's okay.
They're welcome.
It's good they didn't see what happened before you pressed play.
Give us those contact details once more.
It's www.sophialindop.com, and on Instagram it's @SophiaLindopCooks.
Great stuff. This has been In Conversation with, I'm David Batsoff, and she's Sophia Lindop. Sophia, once again, thanks for joining me.
Thank you, David.